Hey, welcome back to Everyday Economics. This is the podcast that helps you understand the economic world going on all around us. Everyday Economics is brought to you by the Center Square Newswire service. I'm Krug. I'm the publisher of the Center Square. And Orphe Divounguy is my partner on the show. He's a PhD economist. Today is Friday, January 23rd, 2026. And in this episode, we're talking about housing. And specifically, Dr. O, I want to zero in on the Zillow report from earlier this month, the hottest markets. I know that, in sort of our show planning, we were talking about a report that you're working on right now that hasn't come out yet, that you says will be just as interesting as this one. Maybe we can tease that out a little bit. But earlier this month, Zillow released its hottest markets for 2026, and number one on the list, somewhat surprising to me, would be Hartford, Connecticut. So the report itself, it focuses on where there's the greatest amount of competition among buyers, and therefore where seller leverage would be, I guess, the highest in the country.
That's right.
How in the world did Hartford, Connecticut get on the top of this list?
Well, I mean,
nothing against Hartford, Connecticult, but I'm just asking. Yeah, how did Hartford get on the top of this list?
Let me put it this way, right? We're looking at competition. We're looking at where buyers might face the stiffest competition.
Yeah.
And so where do buyers face the stiffest competition? Well, where there isn't a lot of inventory. Where you have relatively more buyers than you have sellers, right? And so to create this index, what the Zillow team did is they look at the forecast of home value appreciation for 2026, the time on market, how long homes stay on the market, but also factors like, job growth, right? Relative to, why? Because job growth is kind of a factor that determines housing demand. If you're creating a lot of jobs in an area, you're likely going to get strong demand for housing in that area, right? And so we looked at job growth relative to building permits, how fast builders are actually building homes to keep up with that increase in housing demand. And so when you look at all these factors, what you learn is that places that are kind of nearby these big metro areas, right? Like New York Metro, Boston Metro, right? That historically haven't built a lot of housing, right? Where building permits are just not keeping up. Or those metros where you're still seeing some pretty strong price appreciation and rent growth, right? And there are also metros where basically the Zillow Market Heat Index indicates that sellers still have some pretty strong bargaining power. And so that kind of sums up, what went into the construction of the index. And what you have at the top is Hartford, Connecticut, Buffalo, New York, and of course the big New York metro area, Providence, Rhode Island, at the very top of that list, right? The Northeast. The Northeast just doesn't build enough housing to keep up with the inflow of people that move into the area. A lot of these also are you have some college towns, right? You got a lot of big time colleges, Ivy League schools, high income areas where people just demand for housing has been pretty steady, and where just the supply side hasn't kept up.
Well, I'll tell you, I just plugged it in, and of course, I was thinking about this in terms of like single family homes, and I mean, just as kind of a baseline. And without any price parameter, so no cap, no minimum. In Hartford, Connecticut right now, I just asked Zillow how many homes there are that have 3 bedrooms and 2 baths that are on the market in total, and the number's 8, according to your data. 8.
Yeah.
So I would imagine if you were one of the I imagine there are more than 8 people that are looking for a single family home in Hartford. So that's interesting. And the numbers in Buffalo are they're slightly better. But to your point, I mean, it's Hartford's 1, Buffalo's 2, New York City's 3, Providence, which you referenced, is 4. San Jose is 5, Philadelphia is 6, Boston 7, LA 8, Richmond 9, Milwaukee 10. So let me go in and ask you about I grew up in the Rust Belt, and so let me ask you about these Rust Belt towns. So Hartford, Buffalo, Providence. We'll give Philadelphia a pass; it's not really a Rust Belt town, and Milwaukee. So Hartford, Buffalo, Providence, and Milwaukee. What is it? I mean, is it like local regulations on home building? Is it, there hasn't been a demand specifically in those markets for new homes? Is it that the people that have lived in those markets or needed to work in those markets have left the city limits and therefore are not competing for housing in the cities? What are the, what's the diagnosis, Doc?
The bottom line is, let me use Philadelphia. You left it off the list, but let me use Philadelphia. Philadelphia is a great example. You could buy a, $2 million house in Long Island, right? Nassau County, Long Island. Commute to New York City in, an hour. You could buy a $800,000 house or $900,000 in Suffolk County, Long Island, commute to New York City an hour and a half, right? Or you could buy a $500,000 house in Philadelphia and get on the train and commute it to New York City in roughly about the same time, an hour and 40 minutes, hour and 45 minutes. You could also get to Washington, D.C. In around the same amount of about 2 hours, either way, and save a ton on housing.
Yeah,
Save a large amount of money on housing. Philadelphia is one of those markets that's kind of central to those, to those big metros that are big job centers, essentially.
Yeah, right.
And so a lot of people are realizing, hey, I'm going to commute 2 hours from Suffolk County, Long Island, New York, to my job, but I'm going to spend I have a whole lot less money left over because I would have spent so much on housing. Why not get out a little bit?
Yeah, sure.
And go down to Philadelphia or anywhere between New York City and Philadelphia, basically, right? Yeah. So I think a lot of people are realizing that, and so you'll see a lot of smaller markets outside of Boston, right? Also kind of similar to that, where you're still seeing some pretty strong price appreciation, strong rent growth, because people are saying, hey, I could live there. That's the demand side. The supply side of the story is, historically, the Northeast just hasn't built any housing. It just doesn't build a lot.
Yeah.
And part of it is the regulations. Part of it is the regulation. New York, especially Long Island, is known for having some of the strictest land use restrictions in the country, right? It's really that area and the West Coast,
right?
And you're seeing the West Coast starting to make some efforts, both at the state level and the local level, to try to change that. You're starting New York City mayors starting to talk about it more and more. But yeah, so a lot of these markets are so strict. The cost of building is, the cost of, let's start with the cost of land.
Yeah, right.
Is high, partly because so little land is land that's actually that builders are allowed to build on, right? And so that's a big problem.
All right, 30 seconds. Tease out the upcoming report that you have.
Yeah, the next report is going to be, we looked at those markets where sellers are in at the strongest bargaining position. We're going to look at markets where potential home buyers might be in a really good spot going into 2026, right? In terms of both affordability, bargaining power, but also like people don't want to buy in a place where housing prices are falling, right? They want to buy at the bottom and then see their home value appreciate.
Right.
So we found kind of that mix where home values have come down enough to give buyers enough bargaining power, and where they have enough options, more options on the market, but also where prices might actually start to rebound.
Interesting.
Right? Finding the bottom is what it's all about.
Yeah.
If you're a potential home buyer, and that's what we're going to publish next. Again, you can find it on Zillow.com/research. That's the research base. And all kinds of awesome reports on the housing market.
That's dynamite. Look forward to that. And when that report comes out, we'll be sure to talk about it. All right.
If you're an investor, it's the same thing for an investor, right? You want to find the bottom. And so that's what we're gonna have next.
Thanks as always, Dr. O. Hey, make sure you read Orphe's Everyday Economics column every Monday in the Center Square, and listen to what we have to say every weekend on the Center Square Radio Hour.